And we are live. Everybody, hello and welcome back to another episode of For the Culture with Zack and Zack. Zack, how are you?
Well, I'm a little on the sick and shut in because I just had my wisdom teeth pulled out. So people don't talk about me too much. I got a little puffiness, but I'm struggling.
And when did you have the wisdom teeth removed?
On Monday.
Ain't nobody take that long to get better from wisdom teeth. You must have had giant molars in the back of your mouth that had to be extracted.
That's what the wisdom teeth are, big giant molars. And so I have all four removed, as well as an extra tooth that the Lord blessed me with, and they said, let me take that too.
Oh.
Well, he done took it, right?
Yeah.
That's the problem, right? Dr. Ezi, tell him again, the problem is he had too many wisdom teeth.
Right.
I never heard nobody having 5. You get 4, but God gave you an extra portion because you're such a nice guy, so praise him. We are really excited tonight to be joined by Dr. Kenitra Ezi. I said Ezi, right, Dr. Ezi? I'm
Easy.
Dr.
Easy
Kenitra
like
Ezi.
Sunday morning.
Praise the Lord. And so we are so excited to have her with us. And thank you to everyone out there who's joining us. No matter what your platform may be, whether you're watching on Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, or Facebook, please drop us who you are and where you're coming from. And what we have tonight is a really great conversation with Dr. Ezi about education, about some experiences that she has, what has gotten to this point, and just everything. And so the conversation, we want it to flow. We want you to ask questions. This is a special edition of For the Culture because, again, Dr. Ezi is a wealth of knowledge and experience for our audience. First and foremost, I love the shirt. What's going on? Show us this beautiful sweat. Look at that. Look at that. For the culture. For the culture. Right? And
Dr. Kenitra Ezi, talk about your shirt because it says peace, heart, and Dr. Ezi.
It says peace, love, and Dr. Ezi.
Oh.
So I am in a very unique situation, which I'm excited that tonight is not all about me. It's about education in general. On March the 3rd, I was placed on paid administrative leave for 30 days or up until a pre-termination hearing. And members of the community became just outraged, and students were really hurt and outraged. And so it kind of started what people consider to be a movement. So T-shirts were designed. I'm so excited. This is a Shamika Gilmore specialty. She designed so many T-shirts for students. There were shirts with my face on them, my name, just really in an effort to promote a sense of awareness to what the community felt was an injustice.
I love it. And so how can we get these shirts to support this movement?
I'm so excited that you asked. So Shamika Gilmore is the mastermind behind the shirts, and I don't mind, before we end tonight, getting you her Facebook connection, so that way anybody who's interested, she would be so excited for the support.
Yes, and one thing that will happen, Dr. Ezi, is that in the broadcast, we also have a profile of you that will go on our 3+1 homepage. It's also going to go on the ZackandKirk.com education page. And so you will have our lead, Danny Cooper. Danny's going to reach out to you. So in that article, we're also going to make sure that we post a link to to what's her name?
Shamika Gilmore.
We're going to ensure that we post Shamika Gilmore and everyone to just go out and purchase a shirt in support of this work, because we talk about what happened, and I don't want to make it too heavy. I think that it'll be revealing, informative, and it will definitely, I think, raise, unfortunately, some eyebrows. But we know how giving people time to join us. Thank you for those who are there with you, Gail. Thank you so much for staying up. Now in Mississippi, it's only 7:00. And Gail said she goes to bed at a Mississippi 6:30. I ain't never heard that before. The world has changed. We are no longer in cotton harvesting season. We are literally at the end of harvest season. So, Gail, I don't know why you got to go to bed so early, but I'm glad that you could be here with us tonight. The one thing that we do in the culture, right? We always have our culture conversations. And again, Dr. Ezi is tonight's culture conversation guest. But one thing that we do on every episode, right before we go into something as heavy as our culture conversation, is we do this week in the culture. Okay. Right. And Zack, I know your jaw's hurt, but I'm gonna need you to get that face. Just give us a little bit. Now, I don't know if you went and took you some Imodium, Motrin, or Advil. I mean, I don't know what it is that you have to do for molars being extracted, but one thing that I definitely want to hear from both of you about is this.
Okay.
Thing number one on For the Culture, this week in the culture, is your president. And I'm going to make it big for just one quick minute. Your president, Joseph R. Biden, was saying earlier this week that student loan forgiveness was coming. Many people were really excited about it as his poll numbers have dropped drastically with Gen Z voters and millennial voters. But now he is coming back saying that he is, look at him right there. Look at Joe Biden. Look at that face. Look at that face. Joe Biden has come back today and said that he is not considering $50,000 in student loan forgiveness after getting a lot of pushback from white liberals and conservatives that he would, I think, want to have come over and vote for him. Guys, what do you think about this? Is Joe Biden and the Democratic Party as a whole making a big mistake as they approach the midterms, especially as it relates to For the Culture?
Well, I definitely think he's making a big mistake. First, for coming out saying that we all know you're giving billions and billions of dollars to Ukraine. Mm-hmm. Why can't you forgive $1 trillion for student loan? That would definitely help Black and brown communities, as we know that they are the ones that kind of need it. And I can speak for myself, being a person of the Black community. It would definitely help as it pertains to privilege and some access to some other stuff, as well as some of that financial wealth that some of us not afforded.
Mm-hmm. So I kind of have mixed feelings, and I don't want people to attack me for saying this. I guess, and I know that from my knowledge of having a budget and understanding how certain dollars are allocated for certain things, I do appreciate Zach Thomas mentioning the trillions of dollars that are, or millions that are being sent to the Ukraine. But I guess in my mind, millions, excuse me.
Billions. But Zach, come on now. You know that $1 trillion is more than $1 billion.
Thank you. That was a little math lesson there. But I do think we have to consider from which pot of money would he actually get this forgiveness money, and what would be compromised if he decided to do that. Would this compromise some of these incoming freshmen who may otherwise not be able to receive scholarships or other assistance in that regard? I guess I don't know. I would want to know more about that. I would be excited. I've not paid on my student loan since the pandemic started. So I got excited when I got an email this week saying that I'm in deferment again until August. Praise him. But again, I know in finance, when you have a budget, monies are obligated to certain things. And so clearly our foreign affiliations and our partnerships with foreign countries must have a lot more money than the educational pot. And so I guess I would just have to consider that.
Well said, Dr. Ezi, well said. Now, I am 100% in favor of student loan forgiveness across the board, throw it all out the door. However, I try to be very fair, and I try to look at it from multiple lenses. Number one, President Biden does not have bipartisan support for student loan forgiveness or really anything. So the fact that he doesn't have bipartisan support probably negates that. But I do understand his effort and his push of wanting it to be something that has wholesale support of the American people. The reality is the vast majority of Democrats and the vast majority of independents and the vast majority of Gen Z millennial voters and the vast majority of people of color in this country wholeheartedly support loan forgiveness. It is popular. President Biden, in my opinion, from the moment he's taken office, has tried to appeal to a voter base that no longer exists. He wants to gain the support of moderates and people in the middle, and that middle has shrunk so much because our nation has become so polarized. I believe that President Biden's failure to do the maximum amount that he can forgive in student loans will cost Democrats the midterm election. And if that happens, I believe, and I want to go, this is the first time I'm going to say this. If Democrats do not maintain control of the House and the Senate, Joseph R. Biden should not run for re-election. It's time for him to step down and move out of the way because he has failed to lead this party in the appropriate direction. That I'm saying it, I'm going to stand by it, and I'm going to start to double down on it in my own personal social media messaging. Ukraine is at war. People are losing their lives. That is most certainly more important than my student loans. People stopping people losing their lives mean more, Zack Thomas, than me losing my student loan debt. However, there is a world in which both can be done. Where will the money come from is a good question, but there are things that can be done in the course of a budget that can be reallocated and shifted to make this happen. And that, unfortunately, isn't happening. A lot of great things have been passed by President Biden and his administration that will impact America for the next 20 years. But unfortunately, he won't be in office to gain any benefit from that, and neither will the Democrats if he continues in this way. That's what I believe. Anything else, guys? Any other thoughts on that before we go into the next for the culture moment? Because one, I knew tonight would be a heavy night. I tried to keep it light with this right here. Okay, look at that. Those are your girls from Atlanta.
Yes.
The new season of The Real Housewives of Atlanta will premiere on Sunday night. 4 months later, really 5 months later, 6 months later than usually, because it usually comes on in November, right around my birthday. So maybe they took some time to get it right, but they seem to have not gotten right this photo shoot. This was the official cast photo done by Bravo, and not only did fans respond negatively, so did the actual housewives. So much so that they contracted a young, relatively unknown Black photographer named Eric from Atlanta. This man, I think, had like 1,600 followers, small scale, like very small scale Instagram, and he did this. Look, this is what happens when you get so many screens. I'm trying to move the mouse, and the mouse don't want to go to. Okay.
Ooh, good job.
Right. This is the official cast photo done by the women.
With the peach behind it. You missing the peach, but it's good.
Well, that was something that somebody put in the background, like on social media.
No, they said they wanted the peach.
They probably did, but that's just the actual photo of the women, without to me, the peach was a distraction. And, it was just a little bit ghetto for me, as many leaks would say. Isn't that what you said? It's a little bit ghetto.
It's Atlanta. What else do you expect?
Atlanta ain't ghetto.
Thank you. Atlanta is not synonymous with ghetto. It is not.
Ghetto is having 5 molars in your mouth. So don't you come to Atlanta. Not today. Not today. Now listen. This to me, like, I feel as, when I saw this, I was really blown away. But let me tell you what made me blow away about it is that, to me, I think it says that Bravo is either one, not willing to invest in the image and persona of the Real Housewives franchise, and possibly they're wanting to see this franchise struggle and maybe even fail. And I say that because could it be, that they have consistently declined in ratings? They have a lot of cultural capital and pull, and again, with all the upheaval and casting, I'm afraid that maybe the network isn't willing to invest in this show in the way that some of the fans, may want it to be.
But and I might be wrong, and I need to do some more research, but Housewives of Atlanta has still been one of the top rated franchises on Bravo. And so for them not to invest in it definitely is a disservice to not only Atlanta, but also like the culture. So as you can see, people try to compare it to Beverly Hills and how they vammed and fruzzled and finessed it to be like this glamorous promo photo.
With 20 cast members.
Huh?
with 20 women. They got like they have the Justice League and Friends. You ain't just got Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. You got Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, Hawk Girl. You got them all the way down to like that monkey and twins. on Beverly Hills.
And they finesse that, but then they give the Housewives of Atlanta this. And one thing that I found interesting, it's going to be interesting to see how the season plays out, because I might watch it. At first, I'm
not going to watch it.
But they said Marlo didn't show up for this new shoot, but they photoshopped her in.
Oh, wow.
So they still made it look original and made it look good with that. And that's why she's not in that promo video that they shot as well with this photo.
Well, the TikTok, you mean the TikTok that Candy made? That was a good TikTok.
Yeah.
It was excellent. Look, I mean, even if Marlo wasn't there, Marlo made a good decision not to be, because that is the best look of all.
It is.
You can't beat that. And I don't know what. I don't know what Drew was going with or dealing with. Probably like me. I'm sitting here with about 20 extra pounds around the waist, so I don't know what's going on with Drew. But maybe so she said, "Let me sit down and do the best I can." But Marlo has done a phenomenal job of upholding her image as that fashionista. So congratulations and shout out to Marlo. So that's our, for the culture. Those of you watching, look, you got to interact. Let us know what you think. Drop comments in the chat, because now it's really time to go into tonight's true culture conversation with Dr. Ezi. Dr. Ezi, again, we are really thankful to have you here. And before we go at all into the situation with the West Jasper, Mississippi School District, I want to know about your educational background. How did you become a Black female superintendent? And I don't want to, again, as someone, for those watching who may not know me and my background, I had the privilege and the honor of serving our society as a public school educator for 17 years, 9 years as a teacher, and then the remaining 8 years in administration. And I went from an instructional coach and concluded as the director of curriculum instruction for one of our nation's largest urban school systems. And I know how difficult your journey has been. It is very hard for a person of color to ascend to the superintendency, and doubly as hard, even I would say 3 times as hard, to actually be a female in this unfortunate misogynistic society to get that opportunity. So give us your background. Kind of tell us what you want us to know about your background and what got you here. What qualified you to be the superintendent?
Sure. So I am finishing up my 19th year in the field of education. My very first year as a classroom teacher, I was a classroom teacher for 6 years. And my very first year was around the time Mississippi has struggled, honestly, probably since the 90s, in terms of getting full funding for public educational programs. And it's called MAEP. It's a formula that our state elected officials use in terms of determining how much funds will be allocated to each district. So what happened my first year is there were a lot of talks about districts getting a huge cut. And so I, against what I ever thought I would do, reached out to my home district, the district from which I graduated, a very large district. It actually had 3 attendance centers in one district, Jackson County, on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. I'm a country girl. I'm from Van Cleve, Mississippi, as a graduate. So I reached out, and my former math teacher was the principal at the school at the time. And she welcomed me with open arms and said, absolutely, we're going to have some teaching positions. Come home. So I came home, and honestly, Zack, they took care of me. I was a classroom teacher on the coast, like I said, for several years. And as God would have it, great opportunities presented themselves. And I had leaders who saw something in me and encouraged me to take advantage of that. As a classroom teacher, I worked closely with my district office curriculum coordinator. curriculum became my obsession. So I was a teacher leader on my campus. I was able to develop district-wide common term assessment. So that's kind of when my work at the district level started, while I was still serving in a classroom. I was teaching fifth grade around 2008, and the assistant principal at my school was going to be leaving because she'd been offered a principal position in her hometown. And so she said to me, "Where are you in your administration certification?" So I had a little while longer, and she encouraged me to apply for her position, and I was offered the job. It was an amazing opportunity. I learned so much. I grew in that position in 2 years. And then an opportunity presented itself in Pass Christian, on the opposite end of the Gulf Coast, another very high performing school district. I served as the administrative director for a child care facility. Never dreamt that I would work with birth to 4-year-old children while simultaneously serving as an assistant principal. But it was amazing experience, because later in my career, as I started to champion change regarding early childhood for 4-year-olds, I was able to make that connection through those experiences. So in my position in Pass Christian, I was very close with my building principal. An opportunity presented itself for her to advance. And as God would see fit, I applied for the principalship, and I was afforded that opportunity. And so, to your point about struggles, Zack, Kirk, I don't know that I can say that I had those struggles. My work spoke for itself, and I was so grateful for that. And I thanked God for opening those doors and placing people in my life who groomed me, if you will, who would have those hard conversations with me and let me know from a constructive criticism standpoint of things that I needed to maybe do differently for the good of children. And that was always instilled in me. Everything I did was about children, and getting parents and teachers on board with understanding that when we are focused on children, we win because they win. So I was afforded an opportunity to serve as an assistant superintendent in a predominantly African American school district. My other experiences had really been more diverse, in the sense that either in Jackson County, I kind of had maybe a split at the time in terms of the demographics. In Pass Christian, it was similar, but in Laurel, it was a predominantly Black district, a lot of Black amazing leaders, a lot of amazing leaders of other ethnic backgrounds as well. And so I was so excited to see classroom teachers and leaders of all ethnicities really coming together to try to champion change for children. My superintendent in Laurel saw so much in me and empowered me. I had a seat at the table for every major decision that was made, and that is something that's invaluable. I tell people who reach out to me to seek advice on what can they do to advance in their careers, and I tell them, find somebody who's going to let you sit at the table. Even if you just sit there and take notes and you can kind of debrief after the fact, but the opportunity to really be at the table, to take it all in, to understand the why is amazing. So after 3.5 years as an assistant superintendent, I just felt ready to just kind of explore other options. I've also served as an adjunct instructor at the graduate level through the University of Southern Mississippi, and I love IHL. I love being able to work with adults and teach adults about how to craft their practice, if you will, to enhance the craft and the practice. And so I applied for the position in West Jasper. The district had never had a minority superintendent, and that didn't intimidate me. I knew my credentials were, I have 4 degrees. I have a bachelor's in elementary education, a master's in English education, a specialist in educational administration, and a doctorate in educational leadership. So on paper, not only do I have the credentials regarding my degrees, but my experiences. Just being able to work in very diverse situations, to go in situations from high performing systems to struggling systems and really put systems into place and to really, like I said, champion change that's going to positively impact students, I think is what won me over with my school board, and I was welcomed in. And so, coming to West Jasper, it's been an amazing journey. West Jasper is comprised of two small communities, Bay Springs, which is predominantly Black, and Stringer, which is predominantly white. And the situation that I'm facing is not a reflection of the students. It's not a reflection of the parents. It's not a reflection of the communities, because they are amazing communities. There seemed to be some breakdown in communication and some opportunities that were missed for employees to follow policies in order to express concerns. And, I've had some friends, both Zacks, who've said to me, Ezi, why are you talking? I'm a fanatic. I'm a John Lewis fanatic. I'm a James Baldwin fanatic. And one of my favorite John Lewis quotes says, if you see something that isn't right, not fair, not just, you have a moral obligation to do something about it. And doing something about it doesn't mean sitting back quietly. It doesn't mean reaching out to people and saying, I hope you can help. Here's my situation, but I'm not going to be on the forefront. It means being courageous enough to say, I wasn't treated fairly. There were other ways that this situation could have been handled, and standing behind that. I'm not making an excuse and saying that perhaps I did not hurt someone's feelings. I do believe I've hurt someone's feelings. I don't believe that those opportunities were afforded to me to address said hurt feelings and find some resolve. And so as a result, this has really caused me to, and I love that you guys speak so much on politics and what's going on from a political standpoint, because getting Black and brown people registered to vote, but not only get registered to vote, but holding them accountable for showing up and casting a ballot and holding those elected officials accountable, that's kind of the mission that I'm on. It really is. And I tell people all the time, if you can have an impact at any level, it's the local level. Because you get to call those people directly. You get to email those people directly. You get to see them in church. You get to see them at the grocery store. And you get to say, I don't think you handled that right. Tell me why you did what you did and how that's going to result in a better outcome for XYZ. So I really, really hope that amidst everything that's going on with me, that people in West Jasper, Black, brown, white, purple, it doesn't matter your ethnicity, but that you get fired up. We have an election coming up this upcoming fall. One of the board members is up for re-election, and people need to show up and show out and voice their concerns in the form of casting a ballot.
And there you go. That's your beautiful board. That is your beautiful elected board. And you're right there in between. Mm-hmm. And again, as I've done my research around this issue, it seems as though the votes and how things are going and how things are breaking down were very much, again, exactly as you said, you have two communities that aren't the issue or the problem. But again, probably in how communication happened, but people are voting, with maybe the community, maybe, I don't know. But I think, again, it's powerful what you're saying. And what's even more powerful about what you're saying is how you're saying it. Exceptionally respectful, exceptionally courteous and kind to the community that you serve, and in a way that I think who can't receive that message. And you're going and looking at the greater good and the greater picture. So again, this is that board you reference. Mm-hmm. And so, and again, hopefully the people there will vote. But that has been a continuous and consistent issue for the state of Mississippi. Mm-hmm. Mississippi as a state, for those who are watching out there, no matter what platform you're on, has more Black people per population than any other state in the United States. Now, I'm not saying people of color, I'm saying Black people. And not only does the state of Mississippi have more Black people per population, but it has more elected officials than any other state in the United States that are Black. Mm-hmm. So, but again, when you look at voter involvement, voter turnout, there are a lot of issues at play that can be addressed and can be improved. Stacey Abrams' organization Fair Fight said that literally they feel as though Mississippi is one of the next states that should flip, and in terms of their voter involvement and in terms of voter turnout. So we'll see, if they can make that a reality with the help of and support. Not about voting red or voting blue, but definitely about just voting and exercising your right, hard-earned right to vote. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, Zach, you had a question for Dr. Ezi.
So yeah, I was just going to say, Dr. Ezi, thank you so much for kind of telling us your story, your backstory, and where you are today. Can you kind of bring us up to speed on like where you are now in this process? I don't know, for those viewers who might be listening, if they know that you're currently on paid administrative leave pending termination hearing. How do we get here?
Okay. I appreciate you asking that. So in January, my school board conducted my performance evaluation, and I did very well. Very, very well.
Was this the first time they had done a performance evaluation since 2012?
It was the first time since 2012.
They had a superintendent previously who was a great, amazing man, per what you said, but there was no evaluation of him and his work by the board since 2012.
But the first Black woman superintendent.
Okay,
got it.
And I will tell you, it is in statute that the board is supposed to evaluate the superintendent annually, and I'm a rule follower. And so I did push the issue because I welcomed feedback from my board. I want to make sure, my mentors have been so influential in telling me that, when you become a superintendent, you serve the community and you serve the board, because the board is the community. They're that liaison between the community and the district. And I took that very seriously. And so I welcomed the feedback from my board. And some of the feedback that I did receive was that in terms of staff relations, there were some employees who just seemed to have some discontent or discord with some of the things that I've been doing, but I was never given any specifics regarding what those things were. And so those of us in leadership know when your boss tells you that, you've got to find a very non-confrontational, politically correct way to create an environment in which people can come to you and close the door and share their concerns. And so I did that. I sent emails out to my leadership team. I sent text messages to my leadership team as a group. And I said, guys, I'm hearing that people are not feeling good about some of the decisions that I'm making. If something's not feeling right, come to me. I don't always get it right. Leaders don't always get it right. Let me start over and let's fix it. Even in leadership meetings, I would verbally say out loud to the group, you don't have to speak in front of the group, but come to my office, close the door and say, Ezi, what were you thinking? I felt some type of way when you did XYZ. And none of that happened. I then began initiating conversations myself. And there was one particular employee who I said to her, I said, you and I really are a lot alike, but we've got to be on the same team. We've got to be together. And unfortunately, we were great at one point. It fizzled away. And it was hard for us to recover or relinquish that relationship, if you will. And so on February the 28th, on a Monday, I was in a board meeting and my board asked me in executive session, would I be willing to allow employees to come forth to share concerns and no action would be taken. And I said, no, if people have a problem with me, I don't want them coming to my boss. I want them coming to me first. I want a chance to resolve conflict. We teach children conflict resolution. You go to that person, you work through it, you cry through it, you move forward for the good of whatever the goal is or the cause is. And so I said I wanted that opportunity. My board just felt convinced that there would be employees who didn't feel safe, didn't feel comfortable. And I did continue to hear that there was a fear of retaliation. And I shared with the board, I've not retaliated against anyone. No one's been suspended. No one's been written up for disagreeing with me. What evidence do we have to support that fear? And we didn't. But the board did vote to have a special called meeting on March 3rd. And in that meeting, for 4.5 hours, employees were afforded the opportunity to come in one at a time, to speak before the board and myself, and to express their concerns or to share commendations, the great things that were happening. And I'll tell you, it broke my heart that this is the forum through which some people I consider to be really close to me chose to use to express concerns when we talked every day. And I want to be clear in saying this, and I've said it in my other interviews, I don't ever want people to feel as if I'm discounting or dismissing their concern or their feeling. I am just disappointed and hurt in the manner in which I received those concerns. So at the end of the 4.5 hours, Zach Thomas, we exit executive session, we enter open meeting, and I share in open meeting how disappointed I was that there is a lot of dissension in the district, and I've taken the blame for that. There are racial tensions, and I've been blamed for the racial tensions, and that's not fair. But I wanted to resolve it. I wanted to work through that. I wanted a chance with my leadership team to make sure that we were all on the same page with doing what was right for children. After I spoke for a few minutes, one of the board members then made a motion to place me on paid administrative leave for 30 days or up until a pre-termination hearing. And I was so shocked. And the board president was shocked because we didn't know how we got there. We listened for the 4.5 hours, but there was nothing stated in the 4.5 hours that would warrant me being fired. And so it's almost been 60 calendar days, and I've still not been informed of a hearing date, the status of any investigation. I want to be at work. I want to be a part of graduation ceremonies. Like, this hurts my heart. The hardest thing for me is being away from children. And people say to me, would you be able to go back? Yeah, absolutely. I could go back. And I could look everybody who came to that board meeting in the face and say, how do we start over? How do we move forward so that we are all on the same page and that you don't feel as if you have to harbor any concerns, that you feel like you can call, you can come in? I want to work towards that. Even now, after everything that I have gone through, I still want to go back.
That's, you got the like Mary said, the God in you, because I don't know if I can go back and say that.
It's a great district. It really is, y'all. It's a great district. There are great staff members on both campuses. This is a breakdown in communication and a failure to follow policy, and we can fix it.
It can absolutely be fixed, especially when you talk about it kind of came out of nowhere. It could have been it could have been some private conversations, different things. Clearly, people have connections to board members and have secret conversations with board members, and those type of things are unprofessional and should not be happening. That's just not how board operations should work. It just shouldn't. But again, in different school systems, there are different policies in place. You stated that the they were saying that you weren't listening to the concerns that people had that were secret and private, never brought up. Well, it's also kind of clear that maybe the school board isn't listening to the concerns of the community, because you had this mass walkout of students after this happened, because which is rare. It's rare that students care this much about the superintendent. It's one thing for the principal, it's one thing for your teachers, but students walked out in the school system for their superintendent. And I think that speaks volumes about the impact that you had on a community that you haven't been with for a year. You started in August of 2021?
July 1st.
July 1st of 2021, and already you have garnered this kind of impact, because kids know when adults care about them. Kids know when the adult is there for them and not for the other adults. And that is what, unfortunately, it takes to move education forward. But what I'm going to say, and I have no doubt about it, Dr. Ezi, you're going to go back, you're going to continue to fight the good fight, and you're going to continue to be of service to children. But I would be less than my best self if I did not say that children everywhere need a Dr. Ezi in their life. And there may be a place out there in this world that needs you more right now. And because of the person that you are, you may not have been willing to move in the way that God would have wanted you to move to be where God may want you to be. But if the Lord picks you up and takes you somewhere else, that is where you're probably meant to be, because everybody needs you, not just Bay Springs, not just Stringer, not just West Jasper, but they need people like you everywhere. You are, and you can downplay your struggles as a Black woman in education leadership, because maybe you may not, it may have come easy to you. It's clear that you're exceptionally intelligent and that you are a strong relational leader. But let me tell you, period, coming from Mississippi in any county of the 82 in the state, okay, and being able to ascend to leadership is an accomplishment. It is what your ancestors dreamed of and what they fought for, and it's a foundation that they laid. Growing up in rural Mississippi in Kemper County, which was predominantly Black, where I grew up, which is the one blue dot in the state, because we were raised that way. My great grandmother dressed me up every election to go and vote with her in a single one, in what once was the one-room schoolhouse. So we were raised a certain way in this very rural red clay hill part of the state. But the struggles that I went through, that I didn't even know I was going through, to just get an education, to be able to just simply be my authentic self, to even have the right to read James Baldwin, to now I know how unheralded it was, to have a doctoral degree as a Black person from Mississippi is a huge accomplishment, and it's a huge feat. And we are living in a time when people don't want to hear that, and they don't want to acknowledge that, and they want to erase that whole struggle. And it's understandable that how politics have infiltrated and how the culture wars have infiltrated every element of our society. But I just can't allow it to be downplayed, because I know how hard it has been for you to be where you are. And I also know how hurtful it must be for people to stand and say, because you hurt someone's feelings who was a subordinate to you in the work, who may not have had the focus on children that you have on children, that you should not be where you are. So again, with all that being said, move if God says move, because will be significant great. Because listen, we are living in a time frame of the Great Resignation, and we have vacancies across this country in leadership positions. Superintendents are choosing to leave every single day. And here we have on For the Culture a Dr. Ezi who is saying, I'm committed to children and I want to be there. And I'm getting paid right now to not work when I want to work. You at home watching The Ultimatum on Netflix, and she at home thinking about how she's going to get back to work. Every school system out there.
But Zack, you're not on
halfwit.
But Zack
would like fight to get you in the door tooth and nail.
Zack, she's still out there attending, because I've seen some pictures, athletic events to support the students. So she's trying to be back. So
I'm trying to be back. And I'll tell you, this is one thing that people have questioned me about. I go to events that I'm invited to. And so there has been some question about, why do we only see you photographed at Bay Springs events. I don't want anyone to feel uncomfortable. I do know that the fact of the matter is the only individuals who had a concern on March the 3rd were individuals associated with one school, one campus, one community. And I don't want anybody.
School? Can we just say it?
It's
Stringer?
one school, Stringer.
Okay.
But that is not a reflection of the whole school. That is not a reflection of the whole community. That is just the fact that every single one of those employees who came forth, whether they worked at my district office or in the building, they either graduated from Stringer, live in Stringer, have a spouse working in Stringer, attended Stringer. Those were the connections that every person with a concern had. And I found that very unique, but it doesn't change how I feel about Stringer. It doesn't change how I feel about those children. I go to events that I'm invited to, and I want all of my kids to know that my charge has been doing what's best for all children, not one specific group of children. Zack, I'm a leader who focuses on making decisions based on need, which is where the equity part comes in. And I know that historically in a lot of districts, there's equality. You can be separate and you can be equal. You can be separate and you can be unequal. And there's a fine line between just giving people the same amount of money, even though your student-teacher ratios aren't the same. Your student enrollment isn't the same. Your needs aren't the same. You can't just give schools money based on the idea that, well, if this campus gets 50,000, this one gets 50. That's not how it should work. You should be able to prioritize the things that people want to see happen based on the greatest need. And that's the approach that my board and I work together with my leadership team to try to have.
Well, I know we want to talk about some other stuff, but thank you so much for being here with us, telling your story. I definitely, I saw some prayers are with Dr. Kenitra Ezi, and we're definitely prayer for you in your journey as you battle this. But I know on the other side is victory.
Yes.
And either way the outcome is going to handle, I think you're handling it with grace,
thank you,
poise, and professionalism. And so I'm here. You know, I love you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate all that you guys do through your platform to bring a sense of awareness to the multitude of issues and situations that are faced. And you know what saddens me is that the more I've been home and the more research that I've done, and how history repeats itself, and how important it is for people to stay current with what's going on in the world and to make that commitment to saying, if this isn't right today, we're going to do everything in our power. So 40 years from now, a group of people aren't alive talking about it again. And so I just give you guys kudos and thank you for being courageous enough to say some of the unpopular things that other people might be afraid to say, but are the timely things to say regarding issues that we're facing in our nation.
Thank you.
You know, I just really feel convicted that you're going to walk into such a greater opportunity. I just hope you take it. Like, I know you love, but again, I know you love Pass Christian. It's one of my favorite places in the state of Mississippi. Pass Christian, Mississippi, home of Robin Roberts and the home of the original Mardi Gras in America, is one of my favorite places in the whole entire state. So I know you love people there too. You know, you love people in Jackson County. So again, when God opens the door, girl, walk through the door. There is an increase on the other side, and I just feel it.
Yes.
I feel it in my heart. The world needs women like you in leadership everywhere, in every state and in every place. Although I know you love home. I know you do, right? I know you do. Mississippi is a very special place. It's a different place. It's a special place. And so I get that, but I'm telling you, I just really feel it. And so when it comes, I want you to go because I can just see so many amazing things that you could literally be doing. I mean, look at you give me Miss Mississippi vibes.
Ooh, thanks.
Did you do any pageants? Because you're so well spoken, you're exceptionally beautiful. It's a poise. Did you do any pageants?
Junior Miss, which is really more based on academics. And I did win the interview portion and had a little scholarship for that. So I was very excited. That was it.
Yep, that's it. You know, I knew it. I knew it. I could tell. I knew you had the training. I knew you had the training. So, you know, this has been a great experience. And again, I thank you as well. I know that our viewers are going to love this dialogue, to learn, to love to hear from you. I know you recently did a podcast that was really great. I listened to part of it. I forgot the name of it. What was the podcast? So that our viewers who want even more can go and dig into that.
Right. Black with No Chaser engaged in a conversation with me on this past Sunday. And It's a New Day was the live radio interview that you can connect with on Rip Daniels' podcast that I did last Thursday. And Antonia Hilton with NBC/MSNBC is planning to come visit me in person to do an interview with me along with some of my amazing students next week. So I'm just so thankful. I didn't ask for this attention. She reached out to me. I know that that's a stigma that I have that, I'm reaching out to these platforms. I'm thankful that people are interested. And I really think that was a big issue. I think that when this happened to me, there was a perception that no one would care, that I would be terminated and I would go quietly. And there's nothing quiet about me. I love kids. Like I said, I'm a champion for kids. But more importantly, I'm a champion for standing up for what's right and committing to fixing what's wrong. And so I'm just excited that I have the support. The Mississippi Black Caucus on the municipality side has reached out. They are supporting this charge and getting the National Black Caucus on board, again, from that voter registration and voter participation awareness side. It's a huge issue. And I'm tired of Mississippi getting this horrible stigma attached to, well, that's the South. What do you expect? I expect the same opportunities that children and adults experience in the northern part of the nation down here in the South. We've got great people and great things, and it can happen.
The children deserve they deserve the same everywhere. It shouldn't matter where you live in this country. The quality and access you have to education as well as healthcare, and it's a continuous battle that we have to fight. And I'm so thankful that you said that. As again, 3 people here, all Mississippi natives. That stigma has been something that we've all been dealt with, all been ashamed of, and we know that. Again, I've experienced more in my face overt racism in Boston, Massachusetts than I experienced in all 21 years that I lived in the state of Mississippi. It has been a pleasure. We're at the 8:55 mark. I'm getting ready to switch over for another podcast. But do we have any other questions out there for Dr. Ezi? Zack, anything? How's your mouth holding up?
It's okay.
It's hanging in there.
It's hanging in there.
We love it. And Dr. Ezi, you're going to hear from Danny Cooper. You'll be getting an email from her probably by Monday. Please do the interview with her because we want to memorialize this. Yes. We want to capture all your nuggets of wisdom. And again, when the people call to offer you the big opportunity, girl, you better take it. You better take it. So
thank you so much
for joining. Thanks for everybody out there for watching. Zack, you go rest your face. Get some ice. Put it on there.
It's heat. They want me to use heat. Hush.
They want you. Well, how you gonna do that? How you gonna get heat on your face?
You put hot towels on it to get the swelling down.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, you get your hot towels and keep them microwaved and warmed up, and it'll continuously get better. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next week with For the Culture with Zack.
Thanks.